The courthouse smells faintly of polished wood, mingled with the sharp tang of anxiety. Morning sunlight streams through the tall windows, cutting long streaks of gold into the floor. Dust motes float lazily through the air, moving almost as if they're dancing to the quiet hum of tension. At the front row, Robyn sits with her fingers nervously tracing the edge of her notebook. Her eyes dart between the judge and Kody, then to her co-wives, and back again. Every movement feels deliberate. Every glance is heavy with unspoken emotion. Across the table, Christine settles back in her chair, arms crossed, exuding a cool that runs only skin deep. Her eyes are razor-sharp, almost predatory, snapping to each face that dares meet hers. She doesn't smile once. Every slight tick of her lips, every clenched jaw, serves as a warning. She knows more than she lets on, and she will use it. Janelle leans over and whispers something to Meri, who can barely hear it over the soft shuffle of papers and the murmured greetings of those in the courtroom. Both women try to compose themselves, calm their nerves. Janelle's fingers fiddle with her wedding ring, twisting it around and around as if it could anchor her in the storm that is about to hit. Meri purses her lips, looking briefly toward Kody, then back to the judge, a mix of anticipation and fear in her eyes. The bailiff clears his throat, and the room instantly goes still. The judge rises from his bench, his black robe billowing with each step. The gavel hits the desk with a sharp echo, bouncing off the walls and instantly commanding attention. "We are here to address a family dispute," he starts, firm yet measured in his tone. But there is a current of curiosity in it. Obviously, this case is not like any regular civil dispute. The weight of years of hidden secrets, whispered arguments, and long-standing resentment is palpable in the air. Kody rises slowly, his tie adjusted. His stance is stiff, an active attempt to appear composed. But his fingers give him away, splaying and contracting weakly at his sides. I never wanted it to come to this," he starts with a low, quavering voice. "But there are things which can no longer be swept under the rug." His words remain suspended in the air like smoke, light but choking. The first witness is called. A longtime friend of the family, a person who has watched the dynamics from the outside, takes the stand. Their eyes scan the room, briefly meeting Kody's and glancing at each wife in turn. They start describing incidents that were never meant to be public. Late-night confrontations, secret messages that were intercepted, subtle manipulations, at the time seeming insignificant, but that now carry the weight of betrayal. Christine's jaw clenches, almost imperceptibly. Robyn bites her lip, her eyes narrowing as she listens. Janelle fidgets with her hands, twisting and unclasping her fingers, unable to contain the anxiety building inside her. Even Meri, who often maintains a calm exterior, lets out a barely audible gasp. Kody is called to testify. He takes a deep breath, his eyes sweeping over the courtroom once again, trying to steel himself. I thought I was doing the right thing," he says, his voice quivering ever so slightly. Micro-expressions betray him. Meri flinches, Janelle's eyes widen. Robyn's knuckles whiten as she grips the bench in front of her. Every person in the room seems to hold their breath, waiting for the first crack in his composed exterior. The witness recalls conversations that reveal shifting alliances, moments where trust was broken, and nights where feelings of isolation and resentment festered unnoticed. The courtroom almost becomes unbearably tense, a pressure cooker of emotion. Each wife processes the revelations differently. Robyn's eyes glisten with unshed tears. Christine's face hardens into an unyielding mask. Janelle looks as if she's about to break, and Meri's expression is one of quiet, simmering determination. The discussion in the room is soft, but laced with innuendo, a whispered comment here, a sharp intake of breath there. a hand clenching on the armrest just a little too tightly. The tension is in the small things. Even the judge leans forward slightly, drawn by the layers of complexity beginning to unfold. As Kody continues, he confesses to choices made in secret, times when he proceeded with what he thought was good intention, but in hindsight caused hurt and misunderstanding. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," he admits, his voice barely more than a whisper. But sometimes even the best intentions can lead to the worst outcomes. His words seem to hang in the air, echoing off the walls, bouncing between the family members as each internalizes the weight of truth. The first session isn't meant to resolve anything, and instead carefully lays the groundwork for the storm to come. Small confrontations arise, a glare exchanged between Christine and Robyn, a whispered accusation by Janelle, a subtle but powerful shake of Meri's head. Each moment adds tension, a slow burn as the audience prepares for the explosive revelations to come. The tension becomes palpable as the bailiff announces that confidential evidence will be presented in the next session. The entire courtroom freezes. Even the judge raises an eyebrow, intrigued by the hint of secrets yet to come. The room is thick with anticipation, heavy as the realization that the coming evidence might shift everything. The camera would pan to Kody's face as the session neared its end, the strain of his shoulders, slightly drooping, the tightness of his jaw, the concern in his eyes. Robyn's hands are trembling, resting on her notebook, a subtle quiver that speaks to the stormy emotions she is preparing to endure. Christine leans back, eyes calculating, as if already mapping out her next move. Janelle swallows hard, trying to keep composed, while Meri looks directly ahead, her expression unreadable, but undeniably resolute. The gavel strikes once more, signaling recess, but there is a deafening silence thereafter. Every character in that room and every viewer knows the real battle hasn't started yet. What has been brought forth today is only the tip of the iceberg, while the secrets, betrayals, and emotional confrontations which are going to unfold are much more explosive and much more painful. Even as the audience imagines the courthouse to clear out, the tension remains. The walls seem to hold on to the whispered accusations and the unspoken truths. Each character walks out with a weight on their shoulders, a kind of burden that makes every step heavy, every glance charged, and every thought haunted. In this fashion, as the courtroom doors shut, the impression gained is that the first chapter of this courtroom drama has come to an end, while the real story, which shall test the loyalty of each character and unmask secrets within the family, is just getting underway. The anticipation hangs like a storm cloud, and everyone knows that the next session will be a turning point. The courthouse feels heavier the next morning, as if even the walls are holding their breath. Kody walks in first, his shoulders slightly hunched, the strain of yesterday already etched on his face. Robyn follows, her steps hesitant, fingers fidgeting at the hem of her sleeve. She takes her seat, eyes darting around, absorbing every expression, every subtle movement. Christine glides in next, composed but unmistakably sharp, with a dangerous gleam in her eyes that promises she's ready for battle. Janelle whispers to Meri as they enter, both trying to steady themselves, neither fully prepared for the day ahead. The judge calls the courtroom to order. Silence falls immediately. The gavel strikes, not in a simple echo, but as if a hammer has struck a fragile wall. The weight of anticipation is almost tangible. Today, the confidential evidence from the last session will be presented, and all can feel that the family's carefully constructed facades are about to crack. The bailiff comes forward, holding a stack of envelopes, each sealed with an official stamp. One is handed to the judge, who opens it in deliberate slowness, his eyes working their way down the sheet before he looks up. The room leans in collectively, as if the shift in gravity is toward the evidence. What the envelope contains is more than just letters or photos. It's a compilation of private messages, some never meant to leave the sanctity of locked doors or whispered conversations. Christine smirks slightly, a calculated curve of her lips, while Robyn's eyes widen, her hands tightening around her notebook. Janelle swallows audibly, while Meri's jaw clenches, her eyes dark with a mix of fear and determination. Kody shifts nervously, aware that the storm about to hit could change everything. The first messages are read out loud, and alliances and betrayals are revealed. There are hints of secret discussions, moments when one wife felt excluded, others where the trust was manipulated, and lines of communication that suggest something much more personal than anyone could have imagined. The air in the courtroom is thick, heavy with tension, each revelation landing like a stone in a still pond, rippling outward. Robyn begins to shake, her lips pressed together, her eyes watering. I can't believe this," she whispers, mostly to herself, but loudly enough for Kody to hear. Christine leans back, arms crossed, with a look of satisfaction playing across her features, though her eyes reveal the tiniest flicker of apprehension. She knows the messages contain surprises even she didn't anticipate. Janelle looks stricken, staring down at her hands, as if trying to understand how her world shifted in an instant. Meri's quiet composure falters as a small shiver runs down her spine. Next, Kody is called to testify. He steps forward slowly, his voice measured but strained. I didn't know the extent of this," he confesses, running a hand through his hair. "I thought I was keeping peace, but—" His sentence falls away as murmurs fill the courtroom. He gulps hard, realization finally dawning that the truth isn't a balm, but a storm, one he can't control. The judge leans forward, eyes narrowing, as he reviews the messages and asks pointed questions. Kody's answers are careful, but reveal cracks, inconsistencies, small omissions, subtle hints that there is more beneath the surface. The wives shift in their seats, reacting to each response with a mix of disbelief, anger, and sorrow. Christine's smirk falls slightly, sensing the capriciousness of the situation. Robyn's hands shake. Janelle bites her lip, fighting tears. Meri sits rigid, every nerve at an end, waiting for the next blow. It is here that a series of flashbacks forms part of the testimony. The audience beholds moments of tension between wives. Late-night arguments, whispered confrontations, gestures of exclusion, and eyes that avoid others in moments of secrecy. With every flashback, emotional weight settles upon the narrative, showing how deeply the family's private dynamics have been pulled taut over the years. Evidence of deliberate manipulation makes the courtroom almost unbearable. The wives exchange sharp glances, each processing the revelations differently. Christine leans forward, her voice low but cutting. "So, this has been going on behind all our backs." Robyn doesn't say a word immediately. Her hands are clasped tightly together. Janelle murmurs, "I thought we were honest with each other." Her words hang in the air, fragile, yet loaded with disappointment. Meri simply stares at the evidence, her mind racing with the implications. Kody falters, searching for words to handle the weight of fact and emotion. "I never intended for anyone to feel excluded, for anyone to feel betrayed," he says. But the evidence is clear, and the emotional fractures are deep. Each wife takes in his words differently, reading both guilt and denial where they see fit. The courtroom becomes a stage for raw emotion, the kind that cannot be contained. Then a bombshell. One of the messages alludes to the fact that Meri might have sought legal advice a long, long time before anyone would have guessed. Around the room, gasps echo. Christine's eyes narrow. Robyn's jaw tightens. Janelle's hands shake, and Kody freezes as shock washes over his face. The quiet determination he had been trying to hold on to starts to crumble. Tension rises as the judge stops the proceedings to give the family a moment to collect themselves. The wives remain rigid, staring at each other, measuring reactions, trying to anticipate moves and countermoves. The atmosphere is electric, charged with unspoken accusations and unhealed wounds. Every word, every glance, every subtle movement carries the weight of years of tension and secrecy. The emotional testimonies escalate in the session, with Janelle recalling one night spent feeling unseen, excluded from a decision affecting the whole family. Her voice breaks, every word a rupture of emotion. Robyn struggles to maintain composure, tears sliding silently down her cheeks as she recounts moments of despair and confusion. Christine is sharp, but her words cut with strategy, each statement calculated to expose inconsistencies and sow doubt. Meri speaks quietly but powerfully, every well-chosen word slicing through the room. The atmosphere in this courtroom is raw emotion, barely restrained tension. With every word, one can feel the stakes rise and rise. Subtle glances are exchanged, hands fidget, lips tremble, all signals of the emotional chaos that churns beneath the surface. Even the judge seems caught up, his eyes darting over the faces of the family members. His instincts telling him the truth is more complex, more incendiary than he imagined. The session finally closes with another turn. A mysterious envelope, which had previously gone unnoticed, finds its way into the judge's hands. The label reads simply, "To be opened after testimony." Everybody leans forward in anticipation, holding their breath, as it dawns on them that the contents of this envelope could tip the delicate balance, perhaps changing the outcome of the whole case. As the gavel falls to signal recess, the camera would dwell on the faces of the family. Kody's expression is one of dawning dread. Robyn's eyes shine with tears. Janelle gulps hard. Christine's smirk is gone, her face now an inscrutable calculation. Meri's is a mask of silent resolve. The tension doesn't leave. It just lingers in the air, like smoke. A constant reminder that the storm is far from over. The courtroom feels smaller today, as if the walls themselves are pressing in. The morning sun is muted, light falling in long, almost accusing streaks across the polished floor. Kody steps in first, his face pale, hands slightly trembling as he adjusts his tie. Every eye in the room follows him, Robyn's, Christine's, Janelle's, Meri's, all silently assessing, all silently judging. Robyn sits at the front, her fingers grasping the edge of her notebook, knuckles white. Her breathing is shallow, almost imperceptible, as if she's bracing herself for the storm she knows is coming. Christine, ever poised, leans back, her expression neutral, but her eyes glint with anticipation. The kind of anticipation that comes from knowing a secret might finally turn the tide. Janelle leans over and whispers a soft word to Meri, a futile attempt at reassurance. But the tension in Meri's rigid posture tells another story. She is prepared for the worst and ready for the confrontation she has been quietly anticipating. The judge calls the session to order. The gavel strikes with a sharp echo, slicing through tension, forcing attention, commanding silence. Today, the mysterious envelope from the last session will finally be opened. Everyone knows this is not just evidence, it's a Pandora's box. And nobody in the room knows what will emerge. The bailiff hands it to the judge, who opens it slowly, deliberately, the paper rustling loudly in the heavy silence. Inside, there's a diary, pages filled with confessions, thoughts, and hidden truths. The words are intimate, raw, and utterly unfiltered. Kody's eyes widen as he realizes whose handwriting is on the page. Robyn gasps softly. Janelle's lips part in disbelief, and Meri's calm facade finally falters for the briefest moment. Christine's smirk is faint, but her eyes betray a flicker of unease. Excerpts are read out loud by the judge. Lines of betrayal, jealousy, and hurt fill the room. Robyn presses her hand against her chest as her eyes well up in tears. Janelle's fingers quiver against the bench as she whispers to herself, "I can't believe this." Christine listens intently, nodding subtly, absorbing every word like a predator studying prey. Meri's jaw tightens, confirmation of what she suspected, but revealing a depth she hadn't anticipated. The tone changes as Kody is called again to the stand. His voice is low and measured, but quivers slightly under the weight of emotion. I had no idea things were this complicated," he confesses. His eyes flicker to each wife, silently pleading for understanding, for forgiveness, for calm. But the diary has changed the dynamic. Words alone cannot repair the emotional fracture now exposed. Testimonies become increasingly personal and heated. Robyn recounts moments when she felt unseen, unheard, and unappreciated. Her voice shakes, each word carrying years of suppressed frustration and pain. Christine counters, presenting examples where she believes she was wronged, moments where she feels Kody's decisions betrayed her trust. Janelle's voice trembles as she recalls nights spent in lonely isolation, her place in the family unrecognized. Meri's testimony is quiet but devastating, highlighting both emotional pain and strategic foresight. Maybe she had to protect herself against long-term consequences. Tension rises when the judge calls for cross-examination. The wives inch forward, voices sharp, gesticulation emphatic. Christine points to lines in the diary, taking issue with Kody's recollection of events. Robyn's hands shake but hold steady as she recounts private conversations. Janelle's eyes well up with tears, and her words hold heft, each sentence enunciated with the honest weight of emotion. Meri remains poised, her statements measured and sure, cutting through the room like a scalpel, exposing inconsistencies in the other accounts. The courtroom becomes a theater of raw emotion. Micro-expressions dominate the scene. Clenched jaws, trembling lips, flaring nostrils, eyes darting with suspicion. Kody sweats under the scrutiny, realizing years of hidden tension have reached a point of no return. Christine's smirk fell to a hard line of determination. Robyn's eyes are haunted by betrayal. Janelle's body language screamed vulnerability. Meri's calm was a veneer, but one that suggested steely resolve. Suddenly, an outburst cuts through the fragile composure of the courtroom. Christine pounds her fist on the bench, her voice rising with intensity uncharacteristic of her. "How could you make decisions that affected all of us and never tell anyone?" she exclaims, her eyes afire. Robyn gasps, Janelle winces, Meri's lips set in a thin line. Kody's throat bods as he swallows hard. The courtroom is suspended in chaos, each one's emotions boiling over in different directions, yet contained within the tense room. The diary contains a final explosive entry. It implicates one of the wives in a secret plan nobody had suspected, a plan that, if made public, might change this family's dynamic forever. The gasps ripple through the room. Kody's face whitens. Robyn's hands violently tremble. Janelle's mouth falls open in shock, and even Christine's calculated composure falters for that split second. Meri's eyes narrow, vindication mixed with dread dancing across her features. The judge calls for a recess, but the tension does not break. Everybody leaves the courtroom with the impact of the diary's disclosures. Outside the courtroom, Footsteps in the hallways drum anticipation that the following session will carry more emotional confrontations, secrets, and drama. As the doors close, one question still lingers in the air. Which relationships will survive the fallout, and which crumble under the weight of revealed truths? The family is fractured, the alliances uncertain, and the emotional stakes have never been higher. The audience leaves with a heavy, electric feeling of anticipation, only knowing it is going to get way more intense during the next session. The doors open completely, and the courtroom feels smaller than ever. The sun outside seems irrelevant, powerless against the storm inside. Kody walks in first, his posture stiff, his eyes scanning the room with a tension that could be cut with a knife. Robyn follows, each step measured, as if the floor itself might betray her. Christine enters, of course, with her usual composure, but the faintest flicker in her eyes betrayed a spark of unease. She knew today would change everything. Janelle and Meri trail behind, whispers exchanged, hands gripping seats, bracing for the onslaught of revelations that they all knew were coming. The judge calls the session to order. The gavel strikes, its echo in the silent room seeming to vibrate in every chest. Today, finally, a mysterious surprise witness is called, a person claiming to know the truth about events no one else has seen. The murmurs rise in the room, a ripple of anxious energy bouncing seat to seat. The witness steps forward, and immediately, the energy shifts. A palpable tension creates a charged silence that is almost unbearable. Every wife fixes their gaze, trying to assess the witness's demeanor, searching for any signs, looking for weakness, anticipating threats. Kody's hands shake slightly as he adjusts his tie. Robyn's jaws clench. Janelle's eyes broaden, and Meri's lips press together into a thin line. Christine inches backward in her seat ever so slightly, her weight calculated in observation. The witness begins their testimony. Their voice is steady, calm, but what they reveal is explosive. They recall secret meetings, hushed discussions, and moments of manipulation that have kept this family divided for years. A silence falls over the room, every word weighing down upon those gathered. Kody's eyes widen in recognition. Robyn's hands clench the bench. Janelle bites her lip to hold back a gasp, and Meri's eyes sparkle with both dread and determination. Even Christine's usual calm falters while the truth unfolds. The witness produces undeniable evidence: photos of private meetings, letters written in secrecy, recordings of conversations no one knew existed. Each piece lands like a hammer, driving home the reality of betrayal and deception. The wives exchange glances, a mix of shock, disbelief, anger, and grief, passing wordlessly between them. The courtroom feels like a pressure cooker, tension so thick it could explode at any moment. Kody is called to the stand once more, his voice shaking under the weight of the revelations. I never knew about this," he says, swallowing hard, eyes darting between the wives. "If I had, I would have acted differently. But evidence does not lie. Every hidden conversation, every secret alliance, every whispered betrayal is now exposed." And the room erupts. Robyn's eyes well up with tears. Christine's lips thin into a tight line. Janelle's shoulders slump, and Meri's composed exterior cracks, just enough to reveal the storm inside her. Arguments erupt. Christine slams her hands on the bench, voice sharp, accusing Kody of manipulation and favoritism. "How could you let this happen?" she demands. Robyn's voice trembles as she speaks, recounting private moments of hurt and neglect. Janelle's voice cracks with emotion, detailing nights spent feeling unseen and unheard. Meri's words are precise, slicing through the room, exposing inconsistencies, and calling out half-truths that have been so minutely maintained for years. The courtroom is a whirlwind of emotion, with micro-expressions dominating the scene. Clenched jaws, trembling lips, darting eyes, even subtle shifts in posture. Kody sweats under the scrutiny, realizing that every decision he's ever made, every hidden conversation, and every perceived betrayal now stands wide open for all to see. Christine's smirk breaks into a hard line of self-determination. Robyn's face is streaked with tears. The body language of Janelle screams vulnerability. Meri's calmness is only skin deep. The storm beneath is palpable. Then, the bombshell. The witness reveals that one wife may have been plotting behind everyone's back, manipulating events and information to create chaos within the family. Gasps ring out loud and clear. Kody's eyes widen in incredulity. Robyn shakes her head, dumbfounded in silence. Janelle's hands cover her mouth. Christine's eyes narrow, calculating, trying to assess whether the accusation could be true. Meri's expression is unreadable, a mix of vindication and caution. The judge calls for calm, but it is too late. The air is already electric, charged with emotion, with betrayal, with anticipation. Every word out of the witness's mouth gets picked apart by the wives. Each interprets the information through her own set of grievances, hopes, and fears. The courtroom is a battlefield wherein every person maneuvers for control, seeks validation, or readies for battle. Kody tries to explain, but his words are drowned by the tempest of emotion. "I never wanted to manipulate anyone," he says, voice trembling. "I only wanted to keep the family together, but the evidence speaks otherwise." The wives react with pure emotion. Robyn cries softly, Christine counters sharply, Janelle pleads for understanding, and Meri's calm cuts like a blade, showing the discrepancies in every explanation. The session reaches its peak when a final piece of evidence is revealed, a video recording, one that no one expected, capturing a private conversation that changes everything. The wives and Kody freeze, their expressions shifting from disbelief to shock to terror. Every secret, every unspoken tension, every hidden motive is suddenly illuminated in stark clarity. The room is suspended in heavy electric silence. The judge calls for a recess, but nobody moves. The wives sit frozen, each processing the revelations, the weight of betrayal weighing upon their shoulders. Kody throws himself back, his hands clenching onto the edge of the bench as his mind races and his heart pounds. Robyn wipes away her tears, though cannot hide the depth of her pain. Janelle closes her eyes briefly, attempting to gather herself. Christine's calculated stare softens for the briefest moment, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. Meri remains unruffled, but the slightest tremor in her hand suggests that there is a storm brewing inside. As the gavel falls and the courtroom clears, one chilling question lingers in the air. Who will make it through this session? The alliances have changed, secrets have come out, and the emotional stakes have never been higher. The audience is left on the edge of their seat, knowing that the next session will bring the ultimate confrontation, one that could determine the family's fate forever. The courtroom is tense, almost unbearable. First to enter is Kody, his shoulders heavy, eyes scanning the room as if anticipating another surprise at any moment. Robyn follows, quiet but alert, her fingers nervously clutching her notebook. Christine slides in next, her composure polished, but there's a glint in her eyes, the anticipation of confrontation mixed with the anxiety of unknown truths. Then Janelle and Meri enter together, softly whispering, both trying to prepare for the emotional storm they know is coming. The judge bangs his gavel, calling the session to order. Today is going to be decisive. The last testimonies, the last pieces of evidence, and the confrontations that have been simmering for months, even years, are about to collide. The tension is palpable. Even the air feels heavier. All present are keenly aware that this session has the potential to alter the family forever. Kody takes the stand, hands shaking slightly. His voice is measured, but wavers with the revelations and accusations that have been lodged against him. "I know I have made mistakes," he begins, "and I understand that trust has been broken in ways I never imagined. But I never wanted to hurt anyone." His gaze cuts across the wives, a silent pleading for understanding, for some semblance of reconciliation. But the room is a storm of unresolved emotion. Robyn is called to speak. Her voice shakes, but determination pushes her forward. She recounts months of feeling unseen, ignored, and betrayed, moments when she felt invisible in decisions that affected the whole family. Each word cuts with precision through the tension. Her tears fall freely now, running down her face, but in that moment, her vulnerability only made her stronger, and every eye in the courtroom shifted in her direction, drinking in her pain and the truth of her testimony. Christine rises, voice razor-sharp and calculated, laying bare her side of the story. "For years, I've been accused of overreacting, of stirring trouble," she says, each word precise. "But now the evidence speaks for itself. I have only sought fairness, clarity, and truth, and I won't let anyone take that away from me." Her gaze scans the room, challenging anyone to contradict her, her integrity at stake. The room holds its collective breath, as with every syllable, tension mounts. Janelle spoke next, her voice shaking, recalling nights doubting where she actually belonged in the family. Each memory was intimate, raw, and devastating. She stopped at every other sentence, inhaled deeply, and gasped, as if from the weight of her words. Everyone present in the room felt the vulnerability she had allowed them to see. Her fear, her yearning for validation, her hope toward resolution. Meri is the last to take the stand. Calm, articulate, and deliberate, she describes her actions, her intentions, the whys of choices questioned for months. Sharp as any words can be, exposing inconsistencies and strategies perhaps not considered by others, she stands firm, unblinking, while the room is immersed in her version of events. Protective instinct, calculated foresight, and raw emotional honesty. The judge leans forward, reviewing the final pieces of evidence: diary entries, private messages, recordings, and witness testimony from the session prior. It is as if the weight of these revelations hangs in the air over the courtroom, a silent verdict of truth no human soul can run from. Every glance now, every slight movement on the parts of Kody and his wives speaks volumes of unspoken emotions. Fear, anger, sadness, hope, and uncertainty all collide in this room. The courtroom erupts into controlled chaos as the last bit of evidence is brought forth. A recording of a private conversation that confirms motives, misunderstandings, and alliances. Gasps ripple across the room. Kody's face pales. Robyn's hands shake. Janelle covers her mouth in shock. Christine's calculated expression falters for one quick fleeting moment, replaced by uncertainty. Meri's calm is tried as she processes the undeniable proof laid before everyone. The arguments flow. Voices rise and fall, laced with emotion. Christine's accusations slice deep. Robyn's pleas hold raw vulnerability. Janelle's heartbreak echoes with every listener. And Meri's clarity brings truths that leave no room for doubt. Kody explains. but the weight of years of secrets held inside bears down, his words struggling to reach beyond evidence and emotion to make their stand known in the space. The judge stops, the gavel hovering over the desk, as everyone waits for the decision, which will seal the family's fate. The moment falls silent, heavy and suffocating. Every heart in the courtroom pounding with anticipation. The air seemed to vibrate, electric, as though the walls themselves held their collective breath. The moment stretched, tight and unyielding, until finally the judge spoke. After careful consideration of all testimony and evidence, it is clear that this family has been deeply affected by secrecy, misunderstanding, and emotional conflict. My role is not to punish, but to make sure accountability and truth guide you in the future. The words hang in the air, so weighty, deliberate, leaving room for reflection and reaction. The wives exchange glances, and for the first time in months, there is a fragile pause, one of those moments when the full scope of their reality settles over them. Kody exhales, visibly exhausted, as the tension begins to ease slightly. Robyn wipes her tears. Janelle closes her eyes. Christine's expression softens, and Meri allows herself the briefest hint of a relieved smile. A session is over, but one question lingers in the viewer's mind long after the tape ends. Can there ever be complete healing in a family broken by secrets, betrayal, and misunderstanding? Or will echoes from their past keep shaping their future?